Nampak's financials are in tatters. The packaging company has reported a deeper plunge into the red. For the year, the firm has posted a loss of 4 billion rand. That's from a loss of 25 million rand the previous period. The significant widening comes as the group had to contend with foreign exchange deficits, and spending on servicing its debt pile more than doubled. To address the firm's borrowings, Nampak plans to raise 2.7 billion rand through asset disposals in the next 18 months. All those funds will be used to repay interest-bearing debt. AlexForbes has posted a rise in interim profit. Headline earnings per share jumped 96.5% during the period. That's as the financial services group benefited from its strategy shift, where it reconfigured its core business away from insurance. Giving insight into the firm's performance, CEO David de Villiers commented that AlexForbes is attracting new business alongside high retention rates. An interim dividend of 20 cents per share has been declared, which reflects an increase of 33.3%. Capital Appreciation has managed to maintain its half-year payout to shareholders. An interim dividend of 4.25 cents has been declared. This is even as the fintech group faced a tough trading environment where economic conditions temporarily delayed new orders and the commencement of projects. The group says that there is high demand for Capital Appreciation's products and services, and the firm's new diversified revenue streams continue to present opportunities for growth and expansion. Given this, management is confident that the company's performance in the second half will exceed that of the first half. Advitech has announced a changing of the guard. The private education group CEO Roy Douglas will retire and step down at the end of February, and Jeff White will pick up the reins from March. White has more than 30 years' experience across various industries as he's worked at organizations such as Unilever, SAB Miller and Nando's. Advitech's board says they are confident that White's track record and experience will enable him to build on Advitech's success. Aspen and Sandoz have inked a deal. Aspen will buy Sandoz's Chinese business, and in return, Sandoz will take on 4 anesthetic products that Aspen sells in Europe. Aspen will pay up to 92.6 million euros for the Chinese assets and receive as much as 55.5 million euros for the anesthetic products. Aspen says the acquisition will add about 1.8 billion rand of annual sales, while the sales of the anesthetic products brought in just 280 million rand in the last financial year. Datatech has upped its holding in Mason Advisory to 80%. The firm previously had a stake of 40%. Datatech now becomes the UK-based digital and technology consultancy's major shareholder, and this will allow it to support the group's next phase of growth. Financial details of the transaction haven't been revealed, but Datatech says the purchase price will be settled in cash from existing reserves. Further afield, EU leaders are divided over a 50 billion euro lifeline it had pledged to Ukraine. EU finance ministers will try to reach a deal on the long-awaited review of fiscal rules by the end of the week. Our reporter Anelita Fandese is on standby with more.
Thanks so much, Ndawling. Now, EU officials are set to face an intense week that will either put the bloc on its course for its next mandate or store up trouble. A decision that could leave Ukraine empty-handed in its war against Russia. DW correspondent Marie Sina, who has been following these developments, joins us now. Marie, thank you so much for your time. Now, we understand that the EU had pledged 50 billion euros to Ukraine, but is now unsure. Tell us more about what this pledge entailed.
Right, so back in June, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced that the EU will provide Ukraine with this large chunk of additional aid. And that money was meant to go towards rebuilding the nation in the years to come. But now that looks unsure because some EU member states are not on board. And ultimately, member countries have to sign off on the 50 billion euro lifeline because they are the ones who will have to pay for the majority of it. There are two factors threatening extra aid for Ukraine in particular. The first one is the recent victory of a far-right party in last month's Dutch election. The Freedom Party under Geert Wilders won the majority of seats in the Dutch parliament, and that party in the past has said it wants to halt Dutch financial support for Ukraine. And Geert Wilders has also repeatedly said he wants the Netherlands to leave the European Union altogether. So it's not looking like the Netherlands will be very cooperative in the gridlock. And the second factor is the giant hole in the German budget right now. A constitutional court in Germany recently ruled that a 60 billion euro fund that the government had planned to spend on clean energy and industrial projects will be cancelled. And this 60 billion euro hole in the German budget means the EU will also be strapped for cash, because Germany is the biggest contributor to EU funds, and Berlin has already said it rejects any extra spending for the EU's wallet simply because it needs to save money for its own budget right now. So the Netherlands and Germany are the ones driving doubts of any extra funds going to Ukraine.
Those are some big factors. Now, what are the implications for Ukraine should the extra EU funding not be approved?
That would really be a hammer blow to Ukraine. It's already facing a bleak winter. Its counteroffensive against Russia this summer was not successful. All the while, Russia is increasing its arms production. Plus, there already is growing concern that Western support for Ukraine is waning. And at the same time, U.S. funding for Ukraine is stalled right now as well, because Congress is politically divided on the issue. So the European hesitation comes at a very bad time for Ukraine. Ukraine has warned that the uncertainty over the US and European support packages is putting the country's financial stability at risk. Ultimately, not receiving this aid would undermine Ukraine's standing in the war going forward.
Lastly, Marie, what are the next steps in this budget dispute?
The final decision on the budget will be taken on December 14th and 15th during a summit in Brussels. Ukraine's deputy prime minister has described the summit as an existential moment for her country. But even though it's not looking very promising so far, EU officials have stated that they think a compromise is still possible. It's widely expected that the EU will come up with a revised proposal before the summit, so that means there is still wiggle room. Not all hope is lost.
Well, keen to see how that plays itself out, but for now, let's leave it there. Marie is with Deutsche Welle.